producer behind the hit reality shows like Millionaire Matchmaker and Duck Dynasty is pitching a new reality show idea to the Department of Homeland Security, in which immigrants compete against one another for U.S. citizenship. And he claims both the Obama and Biden administrations were receptive to it.
I don't believe that.
Here's the pitch.
This is a great celebration of America. I'm an immigrant. I went through the process. It took me years. 20 years ago, I heard about premium processing, which is a way to fast track things if you had enough money. Nobody moves backwards in this process. Everybody on our show is going to be a future American. What you're gaining, of course, is all sorts of exposure, potential jobs, opportunities, and America will fall in love with you because we're gonna humanize everybody. Anybody with half a brain, with a critical mind, thinking about this show for 5 seconds would, of course, conclude that it's not the Hunger Games, that it's not some mean-spirited thing that's trying to deport people. It's exactly the opposite of that.
Okay. A DHS spokesperson says the pitch is in the beginning stages of the vetting process, and Homeland Security Chief hasn't reviewed it yet. I mean, people will watch anything on television, we know that. But does this seem to be a good idea to anybody?
No, and I think anybody with half a brain would realize that where we are today on immigration, with immigrants being torn from their families, with immigrants being dragged through the streets, being detained, being disappeared without due process. This is no time to be making light of it and turning this into a reality show.
I thought it was an Onion headline when I first
Yeah,
saw it.
you sent it to me.
I sent it to Alyssa because it said that they were turning it into a reality show, and I had to like triple check. I was like, this is the Wall Street Journal. This can't be right. I think, you know, for the gazillion shows that are on air now that are already kind of, iffy, questionable, almost laughable titles and all the things, this was a new low because it's feeding off the hopes of the American dream, people that want to be here. Their lives are already on the line. That's why they came. So to then have them meted out in like town hall challenges and stuff, there's something that's just out of bounds about this. And I do think people would watch it because people will watch anything. But this was a bit embarrassing to even read the article.
I don't want to make light of it because I don't agree with the concept. I actually think this guy seems like he maybe has good intentions, but it just sounds bizarre. They're going to do quintessentially American challenges like mining for gold in San Francisco, who hasn't done that, log rolling in Wisconsin, assembling parts of a Model T Ford in Detroit. But the kicker is they'd have to pass a citizenship test, which actually only 1 in 3 Americans can pass. I would love to see more Americans get their civic education, be able to pass a citizenship test. And I would say for the people who might be proponents of this show in the Trump administration, the criticism of illegal immigration is that you skipped the line and didn't go through the legal process. This would seemingly let you skip the line and not go through the legal process to become a citizen.
You know, I had to take that citizenship exam, and I wish Donald Trump had to take it, because let me just tell you about some of the questions, and that there's 100 questions that you have to prepare for when you take the citizenship exam. So, number 1, what is the supreme law of the land? The Constitution, not Donald Trump. What is one right of freedom from the First Amendment? Speech, religion, assembly, press, petition the government.
All of the
What
above.
is the rule of law? Everyone must follow the law. Leaders must obey the law. Government must obey the law. No one is above the law. This is from the DHS government website.
Yeah, when Sarah, you were telling me about this, and it was in the Wall Street Journal, and I just find it so deeply unserious and dystopian and despicable. But I started to think about it more in depth, and my guess is that this is one of those, you know, look over here and don't look over here, because what people aren't talking about is the fact that the Supreme Court heard a case about birthright citizenship last week, right? So no one's talking about that. Instead, they're talking about this. And what could happen if the Supreme Court allows these crazy executive orders basically allowing this Trump administration to take away birthright citizenship away from babies that are born here in the United States. If that comes to pass, there's an average of 255,000 children born in the U.S. with every year where their parents are, one of their parents, or both of their parents may be unauthorized migrants. And so we're talking now about hundreds of thousands of children that will be deported from this country. And so I think we need to start looking more at that and stop talking about this kind of ridiculous, deeply unserious, ridiculous stuff.
I did put it on the
You
thing
did.
to talk about
You
it.
did.
But that brings me to a very interesting point, you see, because they're going to have to figure out when this takes place. Is this going to be for people from 1950 all the way to here? Because if it is, if it's from, depending on how far back you go, the president, whose dad came from Germany to Canada to the U.S., would not be able to stay.
I strongly believe this Supreme Court will uphold birthright citizenship.
I believe
and
so.
If you saw, Amy Coney Barrett was asking very tough questions of the attorneys.
Yes, she was. And this is part of the Constitution. This is
Well,
in our Constitution.
We cannot continue to allow these conversations about things that are part of the Constitution to be talked about lightly. You cannot accept that airplane. You can't do it. It's from a foreign power. It should not be a discussion where he's trying to figure out what he's going to do. This is not up to you.
Emoluments clause.
These emoluments clauses, they're not up to you. We have to start saying, hey, no, you can't keep it. Because none of them are allowed to keep it. Not you, not anybody coming in the future, not allowed. This has to be where people can hear us screaming no. Because every time you don't say no, it's a quiet yes. And that's not what we mean. I have a correction I need to make. Donald Trump's dad was born here. His grandfather was not.
Right.
My bad. You know, that's what we do. If we get something wrong, we correct it. Because that's what adults do.